Hey, Laker fans, the season is right around the corner. In fact, it begins on December 22nd. So I want to make sure you are absolutely 100% prepared to go for this second title run. And the way for you to do that is by subscribing to the channel and turning on your notifications. Because, guys, we got videos coming out every single day at the most random hours of the day as well, because breaking news happens anytime it wants to. They do not care about your sleep schedule. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications. We appreciate all 29,000 of you that already are subscribed. Let's hit 30K before we get the season going, because we are dangerously, dangerously close. But today, I'm breaking down the roster for the Los Angeles Lakers heading into training camp, and we're going to start off with the projected starters. In fact, I think these four guys are the ones that are going to be locked into the starting lineup on night one. I don't see them moving around very often. LeBron and Anthony Davis, no duh, those guys are both going to be starting unless they decide to go with a super six-man, but I don't think that would ever happen in a million bajillion years. I think KCP has earned his spot in this starting five. He will get a start at the 2 or the 3, whatever he prefers, and kind of, play defensively on both wing positions. And then the newest Laker, I should say, Marc Gasol. He signed on as a veteran's minimum contract, and the reason I think he starts over Montrezl Harrell is because he has always been a starter in his career. Last year with Toronto, although he was hurt sometimes, and they had Serge Ibaka, and they had young guys like Chris Boucher and Pascal Siakam, he still started 43 of the 44 games that he played in, and he was still very, very effective. Now, kind of like JaVale McGee with the Los Angeles Lakers last year, he starts and then doesn't play the big bulk of the minutes, and that's okay, but he's still a starter. And for his career, that's how it's always been. In fact, he has started 98.2% of the games that he's played in. That includes the first year that he was ever really in the NBA. So this guy's not coming off the bench. He didn't sign on in order to come off the bench. He is best suited as a starter that can stretch the floor for the Los Angeles Lakers next year and be a solid post defender as well, because I think Marc Gasol still has some juice left in him if he can stay healthy, and that's obviously a big if of whether or not that'll happen. I don't expect him to be quite what Pau Gasol was to Kobe Bryant by any means, but I still think he's going to be an effective starter, and if he comes off the bench, I'm not sure he'll have that same effect for the Los Angeles Lakers. But you saw the four guys that I have locked into the starting five right now. I want you to go ahead and predict the entire starting five. Point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center. 2 of those are easy layups in LeBron James and Anthony Davis. The rest of them you get to predict yourself. And when it comes down to that fifth starter, I really only have 2 guys in mind. Dennis Schroder and Wesley Matthews. Dennis Schroder wants to start, but he came off the bench last year for Oklahoma City and was actually the runner-up in Sixth Man of the Year to, now Los Angeles Laker, Montrezl Harrell. And then you have Wesley Matthews, a veteran guy who has actually always been a starter as well. He's a lot like Marc Gasol, where now in the later half of his career, he's still starting but not playing a huge bulk of minutes, if that makes sense. Both these guys are good scorers. Wesley Matthews is a better overall defender than Dennis Schroder, but Schroder might be the guy that you have penciled in because he wants to start. Here's a quote. He was recently asked about starting with the Lakers, and he said, "I did this off the bench stuff already in 2 years with OKC. I think I try to move forward, and I think with Anthony Davis and LeBron, I can be helpful as a starter in the point guard position." So it sounds like Schroder has no interest in coming off the bench this year. And if that's the case, I think the Lakers need to look to keep him happy, because there were rumors before he was a Laker that he didn't even want to be a Laker. So now that he is here, there's a chance that if he comes off the bench and he becomes unhappy, you're just not going to want to see it happen. And I think that could ruin some team chemistry, and you're going to have to get Dennis Schroder into that starting five and hope that he can step up where Avery Bradley left off. But let me know what you guys think. Should Dennis start? Type Y for yes or type you're in for no. If he really wants to, if he is really against the idea of coming off the bench, I'm going to say Y for yes. But if it's something where Frank Vogel's like, hey, we're going to bench you, and he's cool with it, I think him coming off the bench would be a little bit more effective because it could really beef up that bench unit the Los Angeles Lakers already have. Now, I do want to break down the regular rotation players. I think there's going to be actually 5 if you include Wesley Matthews and or Dennis Schroder in here. 5 guys that will regularly be in the rotation and regularly have minutes off the bench. Montrezl Harrell, no doubt. We're going to talk about him more here in just a minute. Kyle Kuzma, who we thought was going to be the third star in LA, Didn't really pan out, but now he has less pressure to be that big of a star for the Lakers. Alex Caruso will be the best defensive player off the bench for the Lakers, and they have a chance to really let him shine as that guard option off the bench alongside either Wesley Matthews or Dennis Schroder. And then you got Markieff Morris, a guy that they re-signed on a veteran's minimum that can come in, knock down a three, and give you some physical toughness as well. But talking about physical toughness, let's turn our attention to Montrezl Harrell. As the sixth man of the year last year, this dude was playing 28 minutes a night, so yeah, Marc Gasol might start, but Montrezl Harrell is going to get that big bulk of the minutes at the starting center position. He's got 19 points per game last year. He pulled down 7 rebounds, and he was efficient around the rim at 58%. The Lakers have found themselves a true six-man that will come off the bench and give them the weapon they so desperately need. Although, do they really desperately need anything because they're NBA champs? So, probably not. And with them being NBA champs, there's some NBA championship gear still available at Fanatics, and you better get it while supplies last because, y'all, if they're going to be 2021 NBA champions as well, you're going to have to get all of this replaced. So you might as well get it while you can at chatsports.com/NBA champs. Whether you want a hoodie, a championship t-shirt, championship masks that you could wear every single day, this awesome championship hat, whatever you want, it's available at Fanatics at a great price at chatsports.com/NBA champs. Let me show you my favorite one that they have. This cartoon version of every single player holding up the championship trophy. That is going to be a vintage t-shirt one day, and you're going to want to have it. Pass it on to your grandkids. Say, hey, look, kids, I was alive when the Lakers won the championship in 2020. That's some gear you're going to want to get from our friends at Fanatics. One more time, that link, chatsports.com/NBA champs. It's going to be in the comments and in the description of this video. Now, you look at the end of the bench kind of guys, the guys that will fill out the rest of this roster because, of course, you're supposed to have about 15 guys under guaranteed contracts. And the last three off the bench will be Talen Horton-Tucker, who will be in his second year out of Iowa State. Alfonso McKinney, who they just traded JaVale McGee for, basically. And remember, they cut Jordan Bell. That's why you won't see him here. And then they re-signed Jared Dudley on a minimum contract. And Jared Dudley isn't going to be a guy that comes in and gives you real minutes off the bench. He's a guy that comes in and is a culture fit for this team. There is real value in those veteran leaders like Jared Dudley. But let's talk about a guy that I think could have an impact on the court. And that's Talen Horton-Tucker. In the G League last year, he was playing 30 minutes per game. He put up 18 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. He played, I believe, don't quote me on this, I believe it was 39 games in the G League last year, something around there. And doing that gave him so much real-life experience and on-court experience that I think eventually it's going to translate to the NBA. Now, they don't need Talen Horton-Tucker to be good next year, but he can be. They don't need him to be good even the year after that because he's so young. I think he was the youngest player in college coming out of his draft class after he was the 46th pick. And usually 46 overall picks do not pan out in the NBA, but Talen Horton-Tucker might be that guy that does eventually. And I know a lot of Laker fans believe in him, but how much do you believe in him? Let me know in the comment section. Make your predictions right now. How many minutes will Talen Horton-Tucker average this upcoming season? Let me know in the comment section. Maybe you think he hovers around that 15 to 20 mark. I think that's a little bit ambitious, but I think you could legitimately see him on, an 8 to 12 minute kind of basis, especially because this Laker team is going to blow a lot of teams out. And when they do that, Talen Horton-Tucker is going to get his chance to shine, and I think he might prove himself. Now let's move into our last little part of the roster, and that is the camp invites. These are the guys that do not have guaranteed contracts, but still have a chance to compete for something in training camp. Of course, the two-way guys are still the same. Kostas Antetokounmpo is back, and he will be ready to recruit his brother in 2021. And Devontae Cacok, the rebounding kind of big man but undersized center that dominated in the G League in the rebound department. But then you see your 3 camp invites. You got Zavier Simpson. That's a guy out of Michigan that we've broken down on this channel before. You can go back and find a full video cut that I did on him. Kevon Harris is a kid that's coming out of Stephen F. Austin. He played 4 years at Stephen F., and he averaged 18 points per game. This guy can give you buckets. He shot 41% in his senior year, and he's going to be fun to watch compete for a spot, but you might see him with the South Bay Lakers more next year in the G League. And then potentially my favorite name on this roster, yes, even better than Devontae Cacok, is Tres Tinkle. And Tres Tinkle is coming in on a camp invite out of Oregon State. He averaged 19 points per game in his senior year. He played as a fifth-year senior after he only played in 6 games in 2016, 2017. But the kid knows how to put the ball in the basket. And, I want one thing in the preseason. I want one lineup that consists of Tres Tinkle and Devontae Cacok in the same starting 5. That's all I want, just in the preseason, and then we can move on from both those guys if we have to. But I just broke down every single player on this Lakers roster. I went from the top of the top with LeBron James and Anthony Davis to the bottom of the bottom with Devontae Cacok and Tres Tinkle. So go ahead and grade this roster all around. A, B, C, D, or F. A would be, Lakers are winning it all again in 2021. And F would be, we're going to miss the playoffs altogether. And if anyone puts an F in the comment section, I'm going to find you, I'm going to hunt you down and tell you why you are dead wrong. So go ahead and give me your grades in the comment section below.